Now that we're familiar with arrangement view, it's time to look at session view, which gives us a different way to create music. Let's start by taking a closer look at the session view user interface. So I've got exercise 1 from chapter 4 open if you want to follow along. And I'll start by mentioning again that the items that we see around the outside edge of the user interface are similar or the same in both session and arrangement views. So that would include the control bar across the top and the browser here on the left-hand side, info view down in the lower left-hand corner, and then across the bottom we have both device view, which we're looking at here, and if I select a clip and click one of the tabs down here, you can see that I can switch between device view and clip view. On the right side right now, we don't see help view, and if you want to see that, you can go up to the view menu and you can choose it from the menu there. And if you need to, you can resize it. And when you're done with it, you can go ahead and click the X button to get it out of the way. So one of the big differences visually between session view and arrangement view is that in arrangement view, the tracks are arranged horizontally, and here they're arranged vertically. So we see the drum track here, and then next to it the perc loop and the perc loop 2 track, and so on and so forth, going from left to right. And all the controls for that track are down here at the bottom. Now, similar to arrangement view, we can show and hide various sections of the interface, and we can do that by clicking on these show hide buttons that are on the right-hand side of the master track down here. And the first 4 are the same as what we would see in arrangement view. So, for example, we've got the I/O button that shows the inputs and outputs, and the send button that shows the send area right here, and then the R button that shows the return tracks that just appeared right here, and then the M button that shows the mixer section. Now, you may be using these buttons a lot because there is so much to see in this window and it gets very busy. So it's very useful to hide things that you're not looking at or need to get to at any point in time. And so there are key commands to do that. And almost all of these cases, it's holding down the Command and Option key if you're on a Mac, or the Control and Alt keys if you're on a PC, and then adding the first letter of the thing that you're trying to show or hide. For example, if I want to show the I/O on a Mac, it's going to be Command Option I to toggle that. And if I want to toggle the sends, it's going to be Command Option S if you're on a Mac, or Control Alt S if you're on a PC. And then the same thing with the return tracks. I'll just do that with the letter R. And the mixer with the letter M. Now, one thing I do use a lot is this same command with the browser. So again, it's going to be Command Option B if you're on a Mac, or Control Alt B if you're on a PC. So I can hide that. And then with this extra space, now I can bring up the return track. So I'm going to go Command Option R. And now I can kind of see everything I'm working with in this project and within the mix. Now, below these 4 buttons, there's another 3 that we didn't have in arrangement view. So the D button allows us to see the track delay, and this allows us to set or compensate for hardware or other delays. And that one actually is available in arrangement view. The next one isn't though, and that's this X button, and that allows us to show a crossfader, which allows us to set tracks either to A or B. For example, if I put this one on A and this one on B, and now when I grab this control right here at the bottom of the master track, if I drag to the left, I'll only hear tracks assigned to A, and then as I push towards the right side, I'll gradually only start to hear tracks that are assigned to B. Now, with that parameter selected, if I hit my delete key, it will reset it back to the default. And let me disable those buttons, and then I'll hide the X. There's no quick key command for that one, by the way. Now, the last button down here, the C button, is new, and that allows us to monitor the track performance on an individual basis. So for example, if I hit, let's say, the verse section, I can see that none of those tracks are really hitting on the power of the computer very much. Maybe just a little bit on this sine bass track, but there wasn't enough going on the other tracks to even light up any of these indicators. So that's a new useful addition. Now, let's talk a little bit just about the track controls here. And so from the bottom up, we've got our record enable button. Then above that, our solo button. And then the track activator button, which I've mentioned works backwards to how mute buttons work in most programs. If you see this in gold, that means the track is active and we're going to hear it. And if it's gray, it's been deactivated and that track is muted. Above that, we have the track pan knob. And then depending upon the height of the mixer section, which we can adjust by going to the top of that section and dragging up or down, we'll see these two fields. The bottom field shows us the average level that's on that track, and then the field above that shows us peak levels. So that's good to be able to see the difference between kind of what's happening with average level on a track versus any instantaneous peaks that might cause some problems. Then to the right of that, we have the track meter. And if I make the track a little wider by going to the nameplate and going to the edge of that and dragging to the right, you'll notice that we'll also get a numeric display there. And I can adjust the track level by grabbing the little triangle or fader and dragging that up and down. Now, in changing the track width up here, I'll remind you that we can also do this to all tracks by adding the Option or Alt key. So if I hover my mouse over the edge of that track and then hold down my Option key and click and drag right or left, I can change the width of all of those tracks. And if I go over to my return track and hover on the left edge of that first track and hold down my Option or Alt key and then click and drag, I can change the width of my return tracks and the master track. Now, if you want to change the order of the tracks that we see here in this window, you can click on a track and you can drag it right or left. Or similar to arrangement view, you can hold down your Command key if you're on a Mac or your Control key if you're on a PC, and you can use your left arrow to move a track left and right arrow to move the track right. So that's Command left or right arrow if you're on a Mac, Control right or left arrow if you're on a PC. So now that we're familiar with the session view window, we're ready to dig in and see how nonlinear sequencing works. Join me in the next video where we'll take a close look at how to control the playback of clips in session view.